time in perimenopause. I felt like so many women have been dismissed in this time in their lives. And I know that a lot of women suffer as well, especially because they don't get answers to what they're going through, which kind of lends to that suffering. I find when we don't have the answer, we're really stuck in this limbo.
Welcome to this episode of the Biology of Trauma podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Aimie. Did you know that those who have histories of trauma will experience more symptoms during menopause? Or did you know that those with complex PTSD, often coming from relational trauma from childhood, that their symptoms from that stored trauma will express themselves the most during perimenopause? Not before, not after. Perimenopause is the time that brings out our stored trauma the most. So it's a topic that I've been leaning into lately as I'm developing a year of transformation program for inner healing during perimenopause. And I'm excited to share this episode with you to get the conversation started. I'm joined by my good friend and colleague, Dr. Mariza Snyder. She's a naturopathic physician and women's health expert. This conversation will not just be about surviving perimenopause or the biology behind why our trauma symptoms come out, but also some simple hacks to restore sanity. Let's dive in. Welcome, Dr. Mariza Snyder. I am looking at your book and I've been reading it and just amazed at, this is not just a book, girl. This is a manual. Like, this is an encyclopedia on perimenopause. I had no idea that you had taken so much and put it in a roadmap and a manual to help people. So congratulations on getting this done, for one thing, and being able to show up in the way that you are with helping women. And I'm excited to dive deeper into this with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Congratulations to both of us. This is a very fun season of life for both of us. And so I wanted women a full path through to not only mitigate what they're going through in the transition, but to also come on the other side, really resilient.
Absolutely. And so as I've been reading the book through my lens of the biology of trauma,
yes,
one of the things that struck me was how you started, I believe it was chapter 4, on your pillar 1. And this idea that we maximize our energy by stabilizing our blood sugar levels. And for those people who've read my book, they will know that was one of the elements that I'm saying, look, our unstable blood sugar is related to our unstable emotions, is related to our mood swings, is related to our dysregulated nervous system. So for me, I would love for you to be able to tie that in for you. Like, why was that so important for you that you made that be your pillar 1 for perimenopause?
I think you and I both agree, Aimie, that our cellular energy is everything. That it is the epicenter of how we feel, what we do, what we have capacity for. It's the one thing that if we can create homeostasis, a level of equilibrium, that we have some path forward. You know, especially I come from a place of a lot of trauma. I have complex PTSD and I was abused as a child. And I have a very hypervigilant nervous system. And I've struggled with mood swings all my life. I've struggled with low stress tolerance issues. And for me, this was one of the things that had made the biggest difference. I think we forget sometimes how potent the molecular information of food can be for our bodies, because it almost feels a little too easy, or we get caught up in the beliefs around food. There's just food can, all of it can get a little messy. But I was thinking, if we could just optimize, stabilize our cellular energy through stabilizing our blood sugar, we really set a great foundation. And that's why, and it's more so if you look at the next chapter, you're going to get into creating metabolically healthy foods and meals. And it's so much more than even stabilizing blood sugar. It's supporting the gut microbiome. It is ensuring that you've got enough energy in the tank for your brain and for you to function, for you to stabilize mood. And so that was such a big part of this conversation. Enough omegas to reduce, and micronutrient rich foods, antioxidant rich foods to really reduce inflammation, particularly neuroinflammation. When I think about perimenopause, I think two things. One, it's a neuroendocrine transition. And the more that we connect about that, I think the more that we can really move the needle in terms of helping women have a different experience. And number two is that a lot of research demonstrates that it's a time of default inflammation. and more arguably neuroinflammation. And so one of the best ways that we can get in front of that is with stable blood sugar, but also eating a diet that is rich in antioxidants and rich in foods that are going to reduce that inflammation. So the question I always ask myself is, this food, the food that I'm going to get together for my family and myself, is this going to support my future brain? And I even put that in the book because that's the way I'm thinking. I'll be honest with you, Dr. Aimie, today I woke up and I just full disclosure, as you and I both know, we've both been in like circuits, podcast circuits, TV circuits to get these books out into the world. And I've been shoving back my period with oral micronized progesterone for the last, I think, 5 days. I'm like, my body's, girl, it's time. And I was like, no, buy me just a couple more days. I have to be on TV tomorrow. So today was a day where I was like, fine, okay, I surrender to my cycle. And the low that I hit because my brain's, what happened to the progesterone? We have been getting by with all this progesterone. And I just felt like my brain was on the fritz today because of being in this state. And I thought to myself, like, man, that's what neuroinflammation feels. So I've been so mindful about what I put into my body and what I put into my brain these couple of days as I was gearing for that cliff dive from the decline in my progesterone levels.
This is so good because as I look at many high performers, people who, like you and me, we like to live our best, we like to feel our best, we like to be doing our best. And so we have these tools and we've been able to, whether you call it biohack or whether you just figure things out along the way of, oh, when I do this, I feel better. And we flirt with that edge then. We can flirt with that edge of, this is me at my best. And this is now me trying to push my body into a level that it's not able to sustain in a healthy way. And many high performers don't know that difference and don't know to do something like what you did, where you're like, no, I can do this. This is within my ability to just stretch this a few more days, to give me a few more days. They're always trying to push themselves. They're always trying to not allow their body, not surrender to their body's natural rhythms. And have you seen any difference in people and women who tend to be more high performing and on that edge and their experience through perimenopause, because they don't like these changes? They don't like this brain inflammation. They have a less tolerance for rest. They want to always be on the go. What's been your experience that you've seen?
I get to work with women of all types, but probably the majority of my patients are very much high performers, and a lot of my colleagues too. And the conversation that I've had with so many of my patients and community members, but particularly my colleagues, is that perimenopause felt very destabilizing. I don't think anyone really prepares us for the amount of brain remodeling that has to happen or that gets to happen during this transition due to the decline, and not a linear decline by any means. We're talking an erratic decline of estrogen, progesterone, and even melatonin, GABA. We're talking about none of these hormones are operating in a silo. Like, they're impacting one another in a really profound way. And so the symptoms that a lot of my women come to, it's always the cognitive symptoms that I think really scares them. The lack of word recall. I can't tell you how many times I call it perimenopause in the wild, where a friend of mine is, I just get that thing, and it's like their water bottle or their keys or whatever. My son is constantly finishing my sentences, and he's 4. So a lot of my friends, they're especially not knowing how profound it was going to be. I've had so many colleagues and friends of mine who thought it was early cognitive decline, because they were just like, and I think the number one thing when you're thinking about high performers, and I know that's a lot of who listen to the show as well, it particularly for women, for years, decades, women could have 100 tabs open and manage them effortlessly. And that's exactly what it felt like up until I was 43, 44 years old, that I could be ordering something for my son for school, new shoes, Halloween costume, whatever the thing was. And then I could be scheduling interviews, scheduling flights, all the things, planning dinner, running and returning something to Amazon, everything, and effortlessly doing that. And then I remember the day where I was really having to effort, really, because that level of executive function begins to falter. And I will say that, and I write in the book about this, about grieving your former self and really being okay with your brain recalibrating. That maybe we can't have all of the 100 tabs open. And probably it was never really a good idea to begin with, even though that may be a superpower. Being super focused, like making the one thing in the moment, is probably the early move. I know that's how men's brains work more than all. And I think that we have to really recalibrate to that. And so for me and so many of the colleagues and friends and patients of mine, we've had to just say, okay, this is a new version of me. This is a new brain that's going under massive reconstruction. And I need to reconstruct, to the best of my abilities, a life where I understand my bandwidth. I understand what my capacity is. And I may have to reconcile the fact that I'm not going to be able to multitask the way that I used to. And then sprinkle on some rage and mood swings and sleep issues and irritability. And that's the other brain changes that are happening too behind the scenes that we're also contending with that can impact our relationships. But I will say that feeling of early cognitive decline, it'll get the best of us, that's for sure.
And I want to sprinkle one more thing on top of that cake that you've just baked, and that is trauma.
Trauma, yeah.
And you're open in your book about your ACE score and your childhood and how that impacted or influenced, contributed to your experience of perimenopause. And as I am looking at the change that happens, realizing that change is at the center of what those who carry stored trauma are uncomfortable with. That's the last thing that we want. We don't like change because it's the unknown that scares me more than anything. It's, at least, even if it's not good, even if it's not healthy, it's the beast that I know. And I would rather live with the beast that I know than this other thing that I don't even know. I don't even know who I am becoming. There's too many unknowns now. So where do these redefining who we are, becoming okay with me not being this type of person that I have felt that I needed to be in order to be loved, in order to be okay, in order to belong, how does that start to unravel in perimenopause?
As you were talking, I was like, it's an unraveling.
It is.
Aimie.
It's an unraveling.
It's an unraveling. And it is a multi-year unraveling.
Yeah.
I wish I could say that this just happened in a month or a couple of days.
No.
We're talking a year. You're talking years. We're talking a decade is what I meant to say. We're talking a decade for a lot of women. And so I don't know if there's any reassurance in that it's going to be a transition. You don't have to figure it out tomorrow. And you're definitely going to be some months that are a little bit more challenging than others, especially I think in the beginning when you don't necessarily know what's going on. Perimenopause doesn't just announce itself one day. It doesn't just say, I'm here, your brain and everything is up for review. It's not going to do that. And it's going to feel subtle at first. I always say to women that you're going to subtly notice that you have less stress tolerance. It's going to feel like an exacerbation of a really hard week or like a really hard month. And you're going to wonder, maybe I just pushed myself too hard. Or maybe this is burnout. Or maybe this is me being in like intense mom mode. There's a lot of things that will come up for review. And I think that's what's important. I think it's the reframe, is that once you understand that you're in this transition and that your body and most importantly, your brain is going through a massive remodel, the question to ask yourself is, what would I love from this journey? What do I get to gain from this journey? Who do I get to step into on the other side of this or through this? And I think when we start to reframe in terms of the decisions that we get to make, the support that we get to get, the way that we get to prioritize ourselves, because I think that's really what comes up for review, Aimie, is I think up until this point, the world has always expected everything. For us to prioritize everything and everyone else before ourselves. And all of a sudden, we don't have the bandwidth. We don't have it. You're like, I don't have the energy for this anymore. And I don't have capacity for this anymore. And my brain, call it an upgrade whatever you want to call it, but my brain doesn't have the capacity for all of this. And I'm just not willing to tolerate this. And so I always say that perimenopause is a time for discernment, and because everything is up for review. And so this is the time where we get to work on the trauma because it's probably coming up for review. We get to work on the things that we said yes to that we should have said no to, right? We get to re-review the things that we've prioritized or the obligations we signed up for that maybe feel like contraction in our bodies, that don't feel good in our bodies anymore. And I think the more that we can attune to what feels right for us, what feels expansive, the more that we can check in with ourselves. This is how we move it. We move on through, not only through the tough transition, but it also sets the tone for the decisions that we're making, for who we're becoming, for the level of freedom that we want in our lives heading into the second half of our lives. And so at times that this has felt so destabilizing. And I have thought, what is this? Like, how dare you, perimenopause? I've also leveled up the reframe and thinking, whoa, this is allowing me to see so much of what I want to let go of and what I really want to take with me into the second half of my life. And that's the invitation I offer to all women going through this midlife transition, going through perimenopause, which is an inevitability for all of us, unless we go into premature menopause, right? We're all walking through this portal and we get to decide how we walk through.
Absolutely. Capacity is a big word for me in my book. It's one of the core concepts that I keep coming back to, capacity. And anything that exceeds our capacity is going to shift our survival strategies and our physiology. And we will find ourselves in that trauma biology, not just stress biology. And so as we look at capacity, I, in my book, refer to the critical line of overwhelm. Anything up to that line, and okay, you're pushing it, you're stretching yourself, but you're still within your capacity. Over that line, you're in overwhelm. And there is no growth in overwhelm. There's just breakdown in overwhelm. And so what I hear you saying is that perimenopause shifts where that critical line of overwhelm is.
Yes, that's exactly correct? What happens. Yeah. And it's, you have less of a line.
You have less of a line.
It shortens. And I don't necessarily think that is a bad thing if you can become aware. If you can listen to your body, you can listen to the signs, you can be, again, that level of discernment. I think when we get to that line so much sooner, that it forces discernment because we really don't have a choice. But I think a lot of things that we've carried up into this point weren't serving us. The things that are coming up for review. I know for me, relationships, work, things that just, I was like, at the end of the day, these don't matter. These don't matter enough. They don't matter enough to push me over the edge. Right. They don't matter enough to drive me into hypervigilance and to drive my stress response system into the ground. This isn't what I need. And the question so many of my patients ask me, and I ask myself, is this what I'm calling in as I step into the second half of my life? Because at 46 years old, let's say I live to 91, 92, let's just say, I am halfway there, most likely sooner than that. And so I think we get to that, whether that's in perimenopause or at some point in midlife, we get to that defining moment where we say, is this it? Is this how I want it to keep going? And I think that's a question we all get to ask ourselves, and we get to reassess what's important to us, what's a real priority to us, and what's going to keep us healthy. I hope that's the through line that in this conversation, you and I walk away with, is that we get to choose us. We get to choose feeling good. Two mantras that I've really anchored to in perimenopause is, number one, it feels good to feel good. And then number two, nothing is wrong. Because girl, I'm always trying to find something wrong. I'm like, nothing is wrong right now. Nothing is wrong. Like, nervous system, let's take it down a notch.
Exactly. Let's downregulate. Let's downshift. Nothing's really wrong. Everything is okay. Everything is going to be okay.
Everything's going to be okay. And because even it's often in these moments where I have a little 4-year-old to give you guys context, and we're at the zoo, and I'm always like, oh, does he need a snack? Or, oh, do we have sunscreen on? Or da-da-da-da. And it'll be the most beautiful day. And the thing about the San Diego Zoo, if you've ever been, is there's over almost 1 million different plant species at the San Diego Zoo. It is magical. I don't even go for the animals. I go for the plants. The plants, they're so beautiful. It's so gorgeous. And though I'll be caught up in my mom brain trying to find something to be worried about. And I will say to myself in this like moment, I'm like, nothing is wrong. Stop trying to find something to do right now. Just be present in the moment. And in perimenopause in particular, I find that it's easy for the brain to want to just, I feel like a cake pop sometimes, Dr. Aimie. I swear to goodness, like everything is just happening here. And what's below my head? There's nothing below. I'm so disconnected. And I think a lot of women have been taught to be cake pops, where we are all just cerebral. And we forget that we have this body that is holding on to so much. And so I've been really, I think in perimenopause, if you've been operating as a cake pop for most of your life, you really start feeling into your body. I think your body demands a new version of attunement and attention. And so I'll find myself going into this rumination of trying to solve all these problems. I'm making up problems as I'm trying to solve them. And I'm just like, nothing is wrong. Like, you do not need to be trying to find problems to solve right now. So that's those are my two favorite mantras in perimenopause.
Now, I am going to bring in some of the steps of the trauma response, because the body, the brain is picking up that something might be wrong though.
Yes. Oh, always. All the time.
We have the first step, right, into a trauma response is this idea of a startle. And the startle is where we don't know if it's a real problem yet, but we sense that there could be a problem.
Yeah.
And
it's like a clutch your pearls moment.
In perimenopause.
Yeah, exactly.
There's changes happening underneath the surface that we can't logically, oh, my progesterone is dropping. My microglia are being activated. Oh, my blood sugar is a little crazy. Like, we don't know those things. All we know is that we sense that something is wrong, but we don't even know what is wrong. And that just then takes our brain into survival mode, and we find ourselves up here analyzing everything, hypervigilant, and not realizing, just drop into the body. Everything's fine. Drop into your body, form that relationship with your body so that you can support your body through these biological changes that are happening.
Agreed. I will say that with progesterone declining, we know, and I know you talk about this in the book too, that progesterone is a neurosteroid known as allopregnanolone, allo for short. And we know that it activates the GABA A receptor and allows for us to really utilize GABA in a way that calms the nervous system. It's the brakes of the nervous system. So it lowers overwhelm and anxiety, and it helps us to get to sleep. And we know that we're losing GABA over time due to age. But what the research hadn't shown until recently is that women lose it at an alarming rate, particularly in perimenopause, which it's so funny how we need research to validate what we've experienced ever. And so GABA, we're losing GABA quickly as well, just like we're losing melatonin, particularly in perimenopause. So we're losing progesterone, we're losing GABA, we're losing melatonin. And so the brain is just trying to recalibrate, knowing that we're not binding to receptor sites. On top of that, we've got estrogen, which is the master CEO of the brain that's driving the hippocampus, the amygdala, all aspects of the brain, the limbic system, the prefrontal cortex. That's why you can't remember where you put your keys, or why you ran into a room and they don't know why you even ran into the room once you got there. It's probably the most frustrating thing I find, because I'm always in pursuit. And I'm like, I pursued into this room and I don't even know why anymore. And I will go backwards to see if I can pursue I'm like, maybe if I run back into the room again, I'll remember. And no, it doesn't work. So I would tell the analogy of, what if you had a CEO who for 30 years or more showed up every day, the exact same time, consistently, rhythmically binding to receptor sites all over the brain. And then one day, it doesn't show up at 9 a.m. anymore. It doesn't tell you it's not going to show up at 9 a.m. It just doesn't. It shows up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Doesn't go home until 1 a.m. The next day doesn't come back until 11, but then goes home at lunch. And it's just this inconsistency. And you can imagine, as let's say you're the CEO, you're the project manager, you're just scrambling to figure out how to put the pieces together, why the CEO maybe shows up or doesn't. And then that's really what perimenopause is. And so when I always tell women, one of the first things that you'll notice is the sensations. And I think you talk a lot about this too. It's like, I always feel like sensations will betray my stress response system well before I'll know it's happening. So you'll feel tightness, you'll feel constriction, you'll feel racing thoughts, which again, is more mental than physical, but you'll just notice shallower breath or faster breath. You'll feel that you're moving into this state of just a deregulation deregulated stress response system, sympathetic stress response. And I know that you can be in freeze, in flight, depending on how your nervous system responds, what your vagal tone is at as well. But it's important to you noticing that physical sensation. And I know there's a lot of ways that we can move our state, but we basically need to shift our state. For me, I am often listing off things in the room that are real. I'm trying to get my prefrontal cortex online. Or the second I can tell that I'm deregulated in my nervous system. And mind you, Dr. Aimie, my system, that's the devil I know, is a deregulated nervous system. My body's, we know this. Oh, this is a slight edge moment. But my body's, no, it's not. This isn't okay. So I feel like there's a major a disconnect between my brain and my body. My body's, we're not good. My brain's, no, we're in our zone of genius. This is great. So this is my oldest patterning, is this stress response system patterning for me. But the second I notice, I'll either get outside and I'll move my body. I'll get outside into my backyard and I will look 10 feet out and I'll start naming things: flowers, fence, plants, tree. And I'll do my best. And that's what I always tell my patients, is try to shift your state. Once you're shifted enough, that's for me when I can bring in breath work or other things, other modalities. And I'd love to hear if there's anything else that and then I'll reach out to a friend, I'll connect with a partner, I'll maybe give Kingston a hug. But then preemptively, I'm always doing my best to send the brain safety signals throughout my day. And usually it's morning and evening. I book in my day, and then I punctuate my day with as many safety signals as I can send my brain as possible, because it's so quick to tailspin into this overwhelm.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that, I love that you go into movement in your book, that you go into toxins in your book. You even have a section there on your own non-negotiable habits, which I love because I have those as well. You go into protein, not only quality, but quantity of protein. I really feel that this is such a manual for, again, looking at the biology piece, for then how women, my audience, can be shifting their critical line of overwhelm just to be able to maintain a degree of stress tolerance and not be going into overwhelm. But you include your 5-week midlife reset. As we wrap up, tell us about that plan and where people can go to find you in your book.
Yeah, Aimie, I'm so glad you pointed out the habit stacking. As a woman who's in perimenopause herself, as I've made it very clear, obviously we can tell that I'm in it. I'm not looking to overwhelm my system. I'm not looking to add extra to my life. I want to just be able to move the needle. How do I get my reader a win? A movement win, a food win, a self-care win, a sleep win. That was the intention of the book, is that I feel like I'm every woman. I'm the woman running around. I feel like some days like a chicken with my head cut off. I'm just trying to get through my day, and how do I create those wins? And then I put it all together, as you mentioned, in the 5-week plan. And the first chapter of that 5-week plan really is what we talked about earlier, which was the mindset shift. About, we get to decide. There's a big distinction between blame, which I feel like the world has told us we should be blaming ourselves about what's going on. And I always say, you are not broken. You are going through a profound hormone shift and brain remodeling shift and extra grace. But there's a big difference between blaming ourselves, because this is not your fault, and ownership, because there's so much that we can do. We get to decide, that we get to rewrite this story of ours. Especially, this doesn't have to be your mama's perimenopause or menopause. It gets to be yours on your terms. And then the plan has got workout plans. It's got workout videos. It's got beginner and intermediate workout plans. It's got meal plans and recipes. And there's even more in the bonuses. A lot of it, I was well over a word count in this book, so we cut some of it. So in the bonuses, I've got the extra exercise snacks, the intermediate plan, the 70 recipes. And so I've got you fully covered: sleep strategies, lab guides, everything, symptom trackers, everything you're going to need, so that you set the tone for how you want to feel in the second half of your life.
Amazing. For those listening, this book is just coming out today, so grab it. The Perimenopause Revolution by my good friend and colleague, Dr. Mariza Snyder. And thank you. Where's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yes, it's going to be for all the book bonuses and all the goodies, which are over $700 worth in bonuses. It's drmariza.com/book. That's DRMARIZA.com/book. Go get the book. It's available on Audible. It's available on ebook. It's available hardcover. get in where you fit in. I don't have a preference. I'm a big Audible girl. So that's how I bought the book. And so because I want it to be accessible for you. So get it where you however it's accessible, and then go to the bonus page and get your bonuses so you are fully set up to win.
And I feel like this is the work to help make perimenopause not be a trauma for women.
Yes.
Because as we look at what are the defining qualities of a trauma, it is when you feel trapped. Yep. You feel powerless. Yep. And you feel all alone going through that experience. Yep. Yeah. So for many women, this has been just one more thing to survive in their life. And so I so appreciate you bringing this work to the world, and the way in which you've laid it out, I think, is phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you, Aimie.
Perimenopause doesn't have to be another trauma you survive. I'm going to share my big takeaways, but first I want to let you know that if you want more of this kind of stuff, you will want to check out episode 166, an episode with Bessel van der Kolk, author of Body Keeps the Score, and episode 123 with Wellness Mama, or Katie Wells, on light, sleep, and high impact habits to heal your nervous system. And of course, I encourage you to grab Dr. Mariza's book, The Perimenopause Revolution. While you're on Amazon, grab my book, The Biology of Trauma, and dive into the nervous system healing. Please take a moment to subscribe to Apple, Spotify, where you can listen, or to the YouTube channel where you can watch the podcast. And this not only ensures that you don't miss an episode that will be just what you need when you need it, but it also helps others find the information that could change their life as well. I am here to save you time and money by bringing you practical information that will help you accelerate the healing journey. Speaking of practical, my practical takeaways: when you understand what's happening, the brain remodeling during perimenopause, the erratic hormones, the shifting of capacity, you can work with your body instead of against it. Her true mantra stayed with me. It feels good to feel good, and nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Because when you or someone around you is in perimenopause with stored trauma, your nervous system constantly looks for problems to solve, even when everything is actually okay. You're okay. I'm your host, Dr. Aimie. Until next episode, lots of love.